On the penultimate day of my Anthem of the Seas cruise, I'm in the beautiful Spanish port of Vigo. I was supposed to be in Le Havre in France, but due to the French dock workers being on strike, again, the decision was made to go to Vigo instead. And in this video I'm going to show you around the port and explain to you how this decision made me £200. But first things first, I headed up to the Windjammer buffet to get a freshly prepared omelette. If you follow the channel for any period of time, you'll know that I do like a nice omelette. And the one here was really nice. And the weather outside was absolutely glorious. And just outside of the port's entrance, there are a couple of statues, which are there to commemorate the hundreds of thousands of Galician men and women who emigrated to the Americas in the early 20th century. And you get into the city via this walkway. And on the left hand side is this beautiful harbour. And on the opposite side there's a casino, shopping centre, bars and restaurants. As I really didn't expect to be here, today was to be one where I just explored on foot. And the first thing to note is that there's not going to be a lot of walking on the flat in Vigo. So I'll say that a good pair of shoes is essential here. So I'm now going to explain how being in Vigo today made me £200. Now I'd highly recommend that everybody who travels gets travel insurance. And if you're somebody who enjoys cruising, then cruise insurance is a must. And one item your policy really should have is missed port insurance. So if you miss a port for any reasons, you'll get some money back from your insurance company. Now sometimes you'll miss a port and you'll just spend the day at sea, which will happen more often at tender ports where you have to get into a small boat to go from the ship to land. But it can happen at any port on your cruise. There's a common misperception that if the port is changed from one port to another, then you can't claim for missed port insurance. We both claimed and received £100 back even though we'd gone to Vigo instead of Le Havre. So please make sure that you've got the right insurance next time you cruise. And this is the Cathedral Santa Maria de Vigo, which was completed in 1834 and a replacement for the original church, which was burnt down by Sir Francis Drake. I then sat with a beer and some snacks and looked back towards the harbour to see the ship. And if you do come here, just be aware that cars and motorbikes seem to have right of way. Keep your wits about you. I then walked to the main shopping area. And it seems like every Spanish high street has an alley hop, which shops are instantly recognisable by having a cow outside. One of the most iconic monuments in Vigo is the Merman, which, as the name suggests, is a figure that's half man and half fish. It was a bit weird, but I did like it. I'd seen that there's a fortress much higher up, and I wanted to go there to get some views over the city. And by now you will have seen that it's a very hilly place. Luckily, a series of escalators have been installed to help you get from the lower area up to the higher areas of the city. And for those feeling a bit more energetic, there's also stairs. But I'd never seen anything like this before, so I was going along for the ride. But I can think of some cities in the UK where this type of installation would be great. Mentioning no names, but Bristol. And of course, these are absolutely perfect for those who've got mobility issues. One of the reasons I enjoy travelling so much is seeing how ingenuity can get over problems. and the escalators here seem like the perfect example of that. And once I completed the escalators, it was just now a case of turning right and then left and heading up towards the castle. And from here it's a short walk up this slope to the Castello di San Sebastian. Unfortunately, there's not much left of the castle. It's just these walls and a couple of sentry boxes. The castle was constructed in the 17th century to protect Vigo from the English. But much of the castle was destroyed when the town hall was constructed inside. Which was a pretty baffling decision to me. Up here seemed a popular place for dog walkers, and there was this amazing map of how Vigo used to look many years ago. I love the view of the ship from the sentry box. But it's difficult to understand why so much was destroyed to put this monstrosity in its place. But time waits for no one, so I decided to head back towards the town. There were plenty of pretty squares with bars and cafes. But do watch out for the cars. And should I come back to Vigo, there's lots more places I'd like to explore. Here we go again. Say that despite all the hills, Vigo is still a pretty walkable place. And there was one last thing that I wanted to see down by the harbour, which is a bronze statue of the author Jules Verne, who featured Vigo in his novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, where Captain Nemo dives for treasure after the Battle of Vigo to fund his submarine, the Nautilus. And then I stopped off to take some photographs of the ship in the harbour before getting back on board. I then headed back to my cabin to watch the ship sail away. I'd had an enjoyable day in Vigo, and now it was time for some dinner. And this evening it was royal night in the main dining room. Feel free to pause the video to study the menu more. And it wasn't long until a bottle of Dos Equis and the bread service had arrived. For starters, I went with a chilled shrimp cocktail, which was perfectly fine, while my other half had the baked French onion soup. And then the chefs and some of the wait service walked around the restaurant while the guests there waved their napkins. And I've never seen this on a cruise ship before. For our mains, we went for the cottage pie and the grilled chicken breast. The cottage pie was full of rich flavour, and the chicken was nice and succulent. And for dessert, I went with the artisan cheese selection. And the start of the evening's entertainment was in the Royal Theatre with a show called The Gift.
John had 2 children who had known happiness once upon a time. But John's son had lost his spirit of adventure. Days slipped away uninspired by anything or anyone. And John's daughter yearned for someone.
Yes, that is former Coronation Street legend Curly Watts starring in the show.
What are you doing here?
I can't explain it.
Neither can I. Frank, what?
Let's go.
I didn't think there was much story-wise to the gift, but the songs and the dancing were pretty good. And then I headed to the 217 for the crazy quest.
Give him up. 4. Make some noise for your team captains right now. Maybe have no idea what they've got themselves in for. No. Rebecca, give me an iPhone with somebody called Rebecca. Miss Becky, I see your team number, but you got to do the male team captain step forward. You do not need to hold the number though. You can give that to your female team captain. Just the gentlemen, stand forward, give yourself some space, all right? Ladies and gentlemen, get your cameras out. Here we go. Now, you cannot stop until I shout your number. I want to see the male team captain dancing like Michael Jackson. Go! Oh, yeah, come on, let's
The crazy quest can be a bit wild, but it's a lot of fun. Highly recommended if it's on while you're on the ship. And the night was then finished off listening to the pianist in the schooner bar. The drinks flowed freely and everyone was having a great time. And by this point I think that everyone in there had some type of Scottish roots. And I ended up having a cocktail before retiring to my cabin. And in the end I felt that Vigo was a much better choice than Le Havre. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. I'll have many more travel videos to come.